Hello and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's new episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. BoomStick and Friends. And ladies and gentlemen, we have an outstanding 90-plus minute show for you. And we got some big topics to get into. One of which is, of course, Phil Spencer was right, folks. Obviously, there was the big announcement that Hellblade 2 Enhanced is going to be released onto PlayStation 5. The enhancements are also coming to Xbox Series X and S. But it turns out that we got some new numbers thanks to a very big person in the industry, Matt Piscatella. Now, obviously, I don't really think he is on Twitter. The information I did get is from his Blue Sky account. And some very, very interesting and pretty pointed numbers to get into regarding Xbox games or Xbox game studio titles and where they rank on PlayStation. That's not the only one, only piece of the story. We have a posting here regarding April 2025 for the U.S. market for Xbox comes courtesy of Clobriel. And of course, he has sourced Circana LLC. We will get into exactly those numbers. And, again, it doesn't seem like news wants to just stop. It's just one big bomb after another. And again, second half of the show, folks, we have to get into the story that was posted by none other than Jez Corden of Windows Central, where he is basically confirmed that one of the two pieces of hardware potentially coming in 2027 is going to be a dockable Switch-like handheld. We'll read some of that story verbatim. Of course, it's already a part of the show notes, so if you want to read the article yourself, you can go simply just click on it and let Jez Cord know that we sent you on over. But hey, Hargeet Chani, what's going on, brother? How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm doing well. We're getting close to showcase. We're also getting close to the Switch 2 release.
Yes.
So lots of fun things going on. We got some new stuff in Game Pass. Hey, let's talk about it.
Yeah, again, folks, it's just one of those things that, Hargeet and I were talking in the green room before, as we normally do, and it's just pretty funny to see how the platform holders have changed in position in regards to conversation. Now, like Hargeet mentioned, the Switch 2 is upon us. We're all excited. Again, I know. Listen, $80 games. Is the Switch 2 worth $500? Is it not? Look, I'm not gonna really get into the nitty gritty of that. I'm buying a Switch 2. In fact, I'm buying 3 of them. And one is for my nephew, one is for my partner's son, and one is for us for here at the house. And I didn't buy any games. I didn't buy any peripherals. I simply just bought the console that comes with Mario Kart World because I'm paying $50 for the game. I would not want to pay $80, and obviously that's been a big conversational piece. But the other, just putting a Nintendo off to the side because they're always going to do their own thing, Hargeet. This is one of those conversations where what Xbox is doing had soured a lot of people in the community, right? We've seen a lot of people come. Oh, you know what? Before we get into it, I'm sorry. We have my brother from another. What's going on, Kay Asante? How you feeling, man? Welcome back.
I'm sorry, I'm a little tardy. 7 o'clock is, bedtime around here.
It's bedtime for the kiddies. Yes, absolutely.
Shoo the spawn a little bit, and sometimes it causes us to be a little tardy. Apologies, but I'm here. I'm good. I'm happy to be here. How y'all doing?
We are good. We're happy to have you here, brother. We have a lot to get into. It's been a very, very busy last couple of weeks for Xbox. So, of course, you know what? While you're here, let me just reiterate. Story number 1 is going to be some numbers coming the way of Matt Piscatella and Circana. These are confirmed numbers. And when you talk about numbers, you have to talk about Xbox going third party, right? Now, like I was saying before, this move soured a lot of diehard Xbox fans, right? Now, how many in the community Well, I'd like to believe that everyone that's like in this chat, we already have 250 people here. If you're an Xbox guy or gal, you probably consider yourself a hardcore gamer. Now, of course, your mileage is going to vary based on, some of the decisions that came the way of Microsoft brass to go third party, right? And like I said, it did sour some really big personalities in the Xbox community that walked away from the brand because of their distaste for this eventual move. And the thing is this, Hargeet, and I'm gonna go to you first on this. I'm gonna read some numbers for you because the numbers really do tell the tale. Now, of course, I do want to go right back to the Matt Piscatella tweets. And I say tweets are obviously the postings from Blue Sky. And this is all very interesting and, of course, very damning for anyone that thought Phil Spencer was wrong in what he did. Like I said, old G's like us don't like it. But I will also come away with I understand why. And the market right now is just so out of whack that we are potentially watching a crash come to the gaming industry as it happened in the early 80s. Now, is it going to be as big or as devastating as what happened with Atari and ColecoVision and, Vectrex back in the early 80s? Probably not. But, prices are spiraling out of control. Game development is more now than it ever was. So Phil Spencer's, whether you call it genius, whether you call it reading the tea leaves, Hargeet, whether you call it being, around the corner quicker than the guy behind him, I don't care what logic you use. These numbers are hard to argue. So let me read a flurry of tweets from Matt Piscatella. And he goes on to say this. The Elder Scrolls 6, or the Elder Scrolls 4, I'm sorry, Oblivion Remastered was the best-selling game of the month, instantly becoming the third best-selling game of 2025 year to date. It was the best-selling title across each of the PlayStation, Xbox, and PC platforms. He continues, The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remaster sold more units in April 2025 than the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion achieved across its first 15 months in the market combined following its March 2006 debut, and generated more full game dollar sales than the original's first 14 months combined. I mean, that is pretty unbelievable. Now, he goes on to say Forza Horizon 5 was the second best-selling game of April 2025 following its debut on PlayStation 5. It ranked as the 42nd best-selling title of March. He goes on to, and he continues, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle also launched on PlayStation 5 during April 2025. The game jumped from the 118th position on the monthly best-selling titles and charted at number 6 after releasing on PlayStation. And finally, 4 of the top 5 and 5 of the top 7 best-selling games of the month on PlayStation platforms were published by Microsoft. 5 of the top 7, Hargeet. Now, again, I'm not going to walk this path about, well, is Sony ever going to do this? Is Spider-Man? Is Days Gone? Listen, that's not what we're here to talk about. If they like money, they're going to have to make some big changes. But we have to go back to the beginning of where we started and say that even though a lot of us did not like it, this, in fact, was the right move for Xbox, who was and still is in third place. But when you consider what they're doing with their games and how those games are being received by PlayStation gamers. Now, I want to take the trolls out of the conversation. I want to, and you know who they are. You know exactly who I'm talking about. Let's remove them from the conversation and let's just talk about the PlayStation players. Yes, folks, there are actually people who don't run in these Twitter and Blue Sky streets and make videos on YouTube saying that Xbox is dead. They just want to play games. And apparently, the PlayStation is their console of choice, their platform that they chose, whether it be now or 5 years ago. This is where they play, and they just want to play good games. And apparently, Xbox has good games. Let's get your thoughts on some of these numbers, Hargeet.
That doesn't even include the 8% increase in hardware sales year over year, and then the
You know
decrease
what?
for the other two.
While I have
But-
that in front of me, I literally have that in front of me. Let me just pull this up now. Again, this comes the way of Clobriel. He posted these numbers, and it's pretty incredible. Obviously, the Elder Scrolls Remastered best-selling game of the month for Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. Yeah, we know that. Forza Horizon 5, second best-selling game of the month. Great. But the Xbox Series X and S hardware grew 8% year over year for the month of April. And this is where it gets even more interesting. There was an 18% year over year growth in non-mobile subscriptions, i.e., Xbox Game Pass. I mean, the numbers don't lie, and the games and the quality of the games, you can't fake how these are being, accepted by gamers, not just Xbox gamers, by PlayStation gamers. Let's get your thoughts on this, man.
Yeah, so Oblivion it's a powerhouse game. It is what it is, right? So it's good to see that it's actually doing well for a remake, right? Or it's really a remaster technically, but it is kind of a remake because it was redone in a new engine, right, and all that, whatever. But it is just kind of a remaster, and yeah, it's they did a pretty good job of bringing it up to current standards, and it still is a very good Elder Scrolls game. And so, hey, it did pretty well from people who have nostalgia for it. And I'm sure there's some new players who are being introduced to it. So fantastic. The rest of it, you can just kind of like see the pattern, right? All the like naysaying of Xbox's games are terrible. Okay, then why the heck are people buying them? Like it's just a continuous stupid argument that you keep hearing over and over again. Xbox has nothing anybody wants to play. Okay, but then why is it they're leading the charts? If that's the case, why are they leading the charts? Were there any like mentions of PlayStation games doing well? Didn't like MLB The Show come out in April? When did it come out? So where did that rank? Was that number 2, 3, 4? Where the heck was that on PlayStation itself? Forget the fact that it's everywhere, right? I think it's not on PC yet, but it comes out on everything. Why didn't that rank? So like whatever, like the whole baloney story of Xbox has no games. Well, that is thoroughly debunked at this point. And if there's really any more stupidity around that, like I don't know what to really come up with. Like you have to just look at the numbers. Of course, there will be people who still won't look at the numbers and just assume Xbox has nothing anybody wants to play. Their games all suck. Nobody wants to buy them. Okay. You can't get past that kind of emotional response. But the reality is it's been like this. The Xbox is selling games on other consoles. Once they bought ABK, yeah, that kind of just, kills the argument. They have the game that everybody buys. It is what it is. So Minecraft, they've been selling that the whole time. It's always been there, making money for them. Like, okay, like whatever. This is not surprising. And it's going to keep going this way. More games are coming. And like these are going to be new games day and date. And they're going to be some older games coming over. Hellblade's going to come over. This will be the really fun one. They absolutely piled on Hellblade 2.
Talk about it.
They talked about that game being absolute garbage. Okay, I want to see what you guys do when it comes to your platform. Are you going to say, no, we will not buy that garbage? Or will it sell? We will find out, shan't we? We'll see what happens when that game comes to your platform. Like with all the other games that you call garbage. We'll see. It always seems to happen. But it actually turns out Xbox has the games you want to play. And PlayStation, well, at some point in some future, they'll give you something at some point. I don't know when that'll be. But whatever. They might have some game sometime somewhere. That is kind of the world we're in. So, all their games are getting canceled. Okay, they have Yotai coming, I think, hopefully, right? That is that it? Like, what else you got? Death Stranding 2, that's a multiplayer that's gonna happen like after what, 6 months? Whatever. So, all right, those are the numbers. Hardware, everybody harps on hardware. I don't think it matters, but whatever. 8% at least is not down, it's going up. I think they're out of hardware. I think they really are just running out, and they need to actually manufacture more, and people will start picking it up. I mean, there's just games now, right? And as people are getting like, inundated with games that people want to play, just even a couple of games that you have in that list of what's been coming out, and then you have more coming, people might want to pick up the console. It's just the way it is, right? Oh, but it's too expensive. Really? Is it that much different than? It's still the cheapest entry point into next gen. Is it that much worse than what the PlayStation charges? Not really. It's in the same ballpark. So whatever. I'm not sure that's going to be a deterrent. We will see. We will see what happens. Switch 2 is like selling out every second. So I just don't see how like, $450 is too much. Really? Right. Okay. Everybody can complain, but they'll buy it anyway. That's kind of what we're seeing. It is what it is. This domination is going to continue, by the way, and they don't have anything to actually defeat that, right? So PlayStation doesn't have any of their own games, so like their future just looks like meh. And then still Yotai, I think is something that I'm most looking forward to from their catalog of whatever they have coming out. But I still don't see it being that much better than all the other games that Xbox is putting out there. They're not going to be Call of Duty, and that's going to come out right around the same time. So good luck. Good luck to Yotai. I don't know when Ninja Gaiden 4 drops, but that's going to also compete, right? And this is what's going to keep happening. PlayStation is going to be dominated by Xbox. I'm finding this kind of interesting that it's really starting to show its things. This is in the U.S. We're not even looking at the rest of the world yet, but this is in the U.S., right? I believe this is all Circana, right? So we'll see how it works out everywhere else. But the numbers are good, right? They're good for Microsoft. They're good for Xbox. Maybe good for PlayStation. They do get the 30%.
Yeah.
Maybe not so good if you look at it from their perspective of like their first party content versus what's happening with Xbox. Xbox is making money. Mm-hmm. Oblivion was number 1 for sales, period, and it's in Game Pass.
Yep.
You don't even have to buy it, right? On PC, you can buy it for your Game Pass sub. You're on Xbox, you have it as part of your Game Pass sub. Like, you don't even have to buy it, and it's still number 1. This is it's just some games it's not going to work as well because they're probably more risky as far as somebody wanting to spend that much money. Oblivion is it's a known quantity, and so people were just going to buy it, whatever. So this is where we are. One of the interesting ones is Doom. I don't know if you have that number yet or not, but Doom is at 3 million players.
3 million in the first week?
And what I was hearing before was, of course, that Doom is doomed. Nobody is playing it. It's dead.
Steam numbers, brother. Steam numbers.
And like the Steam numbers were off by like 10 or so thousand concurrent. And everybody looks at concurrents like that's not actual sales, but concurrent players from Doom Eternal or something like that. I don't know. It wasn't that far off. That's like, oh my God. You have to understand there's so many other games now. A lot of things have come out recently. People have that in their backlog. Yes, you could say $70. Oh my God, it's too expensive. Maybe that deterred 10% of the buyers. Most people are not buying games because they're 70 because it's been that way for years now. Right? So whatever. Yes, it will drop in volume. That has been seen. Fair enough. There's also the fact that on PC, you now have it in Game Pass day and date. Same thing. So you can get Doom in Game Pass, right? You can get Oblivion in Game Pass. So your 1 month subscription, you get like South of Midnight, you get, Expedition 33, you get Doom, you get Oblivion. I mean, just like
crazy.
$12. Like, is that a good deal? I don't know. You guys tell me out there. Is $12 for those 4 games a good deal? Like, so, that is probably what people are seeing. Like, hey, why not? Like, even if you just like try it for a month and you're like, well, no, I want to get it on Steam. Fine. You could still wait for a sale and get it on Steam later and still play it for $12 and just enjoy the game now. Right? All 4 of those games. If you have to buy them all, that's a lot. So anyway, so the numbers are good despite the fact that these are day and date, right? In Game Pass on PC and on Xbox. And oh, by the way, wasn't I think the Doom numbers, 2 million of those were on Xbox, the console.
Yes.
So
2 of the 3 million. Yes.
I guess PlayStation players, where are you at? Why aren't you buying? Because that's split between PC and
that's the big question.
Where are you at? Why aren't you buying those games? I thought you support the devs. Oh, well, you don't really support the devs? Okay. Either way, was Astro in the top?
No,
I doubt it.
It actually was not.
Has Astro even reached 3 million? Anyway, I make fun of them, but this is the way it is. This will keep happening. That's kind of where this is from now on. I think this is just going to be the norm. You're going to see 4 or 5 Xbox games in the tops on PlayStation. They'll be putting games on Switch too, I'm sure. Yep. I don't know when that starts. I would expect to see that too. However, in that case, Nintendo does have games that sell, so their games will probably still be in their tops, but they will still have Xbox games there too. But it is funny that that the narratives are all just totally collapsing. Hardware's up. Hardware revenue for PlayStation's down. Their revenues are going to go down next year. That's their projection, right? So they're in different worlds. Xbox is continuing to go upwards, and PlayStation's continuing to go downwards. And Microsoft still has cash, so they can go buy the next thing they want to if they want to invest in this area, right? So that's up to them. And good God, I cannot wait for June. We are weeks away. We get to see the absolute demolishment that's going to happen. And I wonder when we'll finally ever see a PlayStation showcase. Will it be the year of the rat? I don't know what the heck's going to happen whenever we actually see a showcase from PlayStation. Hopefully before this gen is over, we have a showcase from them. But hey, whatever. I don't think they have much to show, unfortunately. So we'll see where that goes. But those are my general thoughts so far. I mean, it's, they're good numbers. It is what it is. And I just expect to continue to see this happen, month after month, year after year. You're going to just keep seeing Xbox is going to be in the tops there because they actually have the games people want to play. Whether everybody wants to agree or not, they actually have the games people want to play.
Yeah. I mean, again, this is some of the things that we discussed before Kay Asante got here in the green room. FYI, they just happened to drop into Xbox Game Pass 50 retro classics that is now a part of the Activision Blizzard King deal. And they're all, one of the things, look, I'm not going to front. I talk about my dad on a regular basis, and I try not to get emotional because I do, because that's the greatest man I've ever known, and I ever probably will know, right? And I saw one of the games that we played when I was a kid, and it was the Activision Boxing. It was I don't know if you guys remember it. It's literally 2 circles for the gloves, a circle for the head, and sticks for the arms, and all you did was this. And my father and I played for hours that game, just laughing and having a good time. That's one of the games. And they dropped it in a press release and just dropped it on the Game Pass. Oh, by the way.
Yeah, I already had to start it, even though I'm playing Doom. I'm like, I have to download it. I downloaded it, I started playing. I can't believe they have Sierra games in there. I'm like, holy, this is awesome. I played Pitfall. I played a couple of different games. I'm like, why not just cycle through some stuff? That's awesome. It's really awesome.
And it's just one of those things. They have so many things happening that they just, here you go. Oh, 50 games, 50 classics. And more are on the way. Thanks to Jason Ronald, who was like, oh, guys, check it out. 50 classic games. You've been asking for it. Here's 50. There's more on the way. My God. I don't know how anyone could look at what Xbox is doing with a crooked eye, unless you are a just good for nothing console warring troll. If that is your life, man, you need to play games. But Que Asante, let's talk numbers. Okay, because I've always said this, and I'm gonna die on this hill. Opinions are opinions, but you can't argue the numbers. And the numbers for Xbox have been bombastic. And
Indeed.
as we read from Matt Piscatella, 5 of the top 7 games on PlayStation were Xbox first party games. And this comes on the heels of the announcement today that Hellblade 2 Enhanced is coming to PlayStation this summer. I would imagine as we get closer to the fall, there's going to be a Starfield announcement, and Starfield is going to land on PlayStation. And again, I know, and I just want to reiterate this, folks. I make no apologies for feeling a type of way because I'm an OG like that. Like, I never in my wildest dreams would have ever thought that you would get Forza Horizon 5, Gears of War Reloaded, and potentially a Master Chief Collection on PlayStation or Switch. Like that's something I could have never thought was going to happen, or I would have ever signed off on. But when you talk about value and you see how much money and again, be clear here. Microsoft making money does nothing for me. They are not giving me anything, so I don't care how much money they make. What I care about is the service that I'm paid up until 2028 continues to get banger after banger and just filled with games, and that has already happened. Let's talk about some of these numbers that come the way of Matt Piscatella. Okay.
So I love the numbers like everybody else does. But let's for a moment stop and continue to talk a bit more about Ant Stream and the amazing classic collection that's coming. People have been continuing to talk about the stories of yesterday. I'm like, what are you people talking about? This is what they did with all those Activision classics. Like, it's wild. It's amazing that we're seeing all those. I don't know why people are like, oh yeah, that's good. I'm going to go back to the no. This is awesome. I'm so excited. I'm sorry. I can't wait to play with my kids. There's a lot of games in here. I can't wait to play. Anyway, those numbers. I feel like I'm not quite ready to do the victory lap yet. I'll be very dirty on the internet when that day happens, because a lot of people throw either direct or side shade my way for saying that this is where they're going. And you'll know that they're going and they're right in their pursuits when hardware sales go down, but their software and services don't. Right? I couldn't have even imagined it. Not only did software and services go up, so did hardware that they're not necessarily trying to move. So there's that, right? So, like, honestly, you guys have already laid it out pretty fair. I will tell you, if those who remember my voice and remember me on this show, I made this graybeards joke. I made this horseshoe maker joke some years back. Yeah, it's been on since that day. Right. So I've already gone through all the mental gymnastics that all gamers do from that day. And that was like 2 years ago. So at this point, it's just, we're just seeing the fruits of all the labors that they've been putting together for a long time. Right. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that it's making money. What is surprising me is their strategy, which is like, oh, we got no games. Well, hold my beer. Now, how many of the top games on any platform belong to us? That's surprising, right?
Yeah.
It's not worrying, but I'm just kind of like, because when you set this up, what they must have learned, for better and for worse, is when you start setting things up, people start having expectations. And this is more than a flywheel, baby. This thing is a monsoon. It rains with AAA gifts all day, among others. Right. So, like, not concern, but where I'm looking at now is how long are they going to maintain this clip? Because, man, it's a lot of amazing games coming like at once. I was talking to some folks in the Discord. We were chatting about it. Like, people think, and by and large, most people think that the world ended when Expedition 33 came, because Expedition 33 has that, that Elden Ring energy. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone's playing it, all this, right? But that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, hold on, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 games ago when Expedition 33 came and blew everyone. 14 games ago. And in between those 14 games, there's at least one AAA and one quadruple A in the form of Doom that also released. They are firing on all cylinders. So I'm just like, I hope they're able to keep it up. But clearly, I think they're seeing that 1 + 1 = 2 here, right? You give an amazing dearth of content. You put it anywhere, everywhere that anyone wants to play it on, and what happens? You suck in the money with a funnel, right? You just soak it all in, and the better your games are, the more people will subscribe. All the numbers are up. Even consoles that they're clearly not trying to move are moving, right? I believe wholeheartedly with Hargeet that they're either rounding the bottom or they're at the bottom of the barrel as far as the console generations go. So like. This is not a matter of them wanting to move units. This is probably them satiating their existing audience. They know there will always be an audience for it, and again, I agree that moving forward, you'll see that audience still be satiated. So there will be consoles. So I'm not saying there won't be, but I don't think they are trying to move the consoles like PlayStation is, right? Because to PlayStation, it's still their primary bread and butter, right? I honestly think that this will be very interesting. To me, this really shows interesting work that PlayStation has to do. How do they respond here? Because although Xbox is not a direct competitor now to PlayStation in that way, right? They're like, hey, we're here to just put our wares everywhere, right? They're able to do that. Xbox is moving in a different speed or moving in different ways. PlayStation is still moving exactly the same way they are, right? And now, as Hargeet once said, and he was right, you have now an assault on two fronts. You have the Xbox, who's not really being your direct competitor, but has so many games, just throwing them everywhere, and people are looking at that, and the subsurface is really enticing. Then you got Switch on the other side with interesting hardware and potentially new stuff. And this is Switch and this is Nintendo, so they got something. They come with a built-in zeitgeist of gamers and lovers, right? So it puts PlayStation in a very interesting position. I mean, let us not get it twisted. I am in no way, shape, or form saying that they're going to fall flat on their face. They are the market leader for a reason. They have earned their market position, but it's always interesting that when you get to that market leader position and you stay there long enough, how do you innovate and move and shake to earn your status and defend your title, right? Now they're defending their title basically off of all the political capital they have that they continue to spend. I have not seen them, shake it off and go, we the boss because we deserve to be here. They haven't done that in a while, right? I'm looking forward to Ghost of Yotai. I love Ghost of Tsushima. I played it 3 times, on 3 different platforms. So I expect this will be good as well. But as good as I suspect that will be, though, compared to what Xbox is doing now, if you're going to do that comparison, it's kind of lopsided. It's tough, right? How many Ghosts of Yotais do you have to compare to Doom, the Dark Ages, and freaking Oblivion, and there's more, right? It's kind of wild. So yeah, man, I think they're doing real well. I'm not counting PlayStation out by any chance. I love when big dogs get squeezed, because then you'll see some interesting innovations come from them, right? When Xbox got squeezed, we got Game Pass and back compat. Let's see what happens when PlayStation gets squeezed a little bit. I look forward to seeing them innovate.
It's going to be very interesting. Yeah, please continue, Hardy.
Yeah, I was going to say I'll add a little bit of new, I guess extra to that. You're right in that this is something that should push them. And but the problem is the team that was there at PlayStation that was good,
all
I don't think they're there anymore. Yeah. And now you just see them making decisions that I'm like, who's making this decision?
But you know what, Hargeet, though?
No sense.
I agree with you, because people always assuage the energy to the team as if the team never changes. Yes, the logo is the same, but a lot of the people aren't there. I know this. The only reason why I still have faith in them is they need this. If they don't have this, they are so much smaller, or maybe they don't even exist. Who knows? This is their bread and butter. And when all of it is riding on this, you do not mess around, right? I expect Microsoft to mess around, because if gaming goes down these days, it will be a blip on the radar, no doubt, because they've actually invested pretty heavily in it. But it wouldn't bring them down at all. Like if gaming goes down as far as Sony is concerned, they are hurt. So I don't expect them to rest on their laurels.
It is a big chunk of their revenue
when it's coming.
That's
I mean?
fair.
Yeah,
However,
it would downgrade
they're
them
also
considerably, I think.
They're expecting revenue to decline in this sector because they know things are changing. Now, I guess the real question is their business model accepting of more risk, or are they trying to just say we do things that aren't risky to keep our business the way it is? I don't know. Right? From everything they've done before, they eliminated all the risk. They went with, we know that this is a big game. That's what we're gonna, go after. We got rid of all the studios that make all the, riskier, more potentially fail, but potentially really good upside games, right? So that went away. I don't know if this is gonna change or not. It's very interesting to see what they'll do. I think even Nintendo is getting a little bit less in that range. The Switch 2 is not much of a departure from the Switch 1. They generally do a lot of like revolution and not just evolution. They're playing it safe, and that's not cool. I don't like that. I like Nintendo pushing the boundaries. That was always good, right? And I don't know. So we will see. There's yet to be determined what the leadership of PlayStation will do. What their games, the games that they've been like greenlighting have been. They've canceled a whole bunch, and like sitting here going, "What are you guys doing here?" Like, whatever. So we will see. We will see. It could. There's always potential for the industry to totally disrupt. That happens all the time, right? So in any given industry, not just in gaming, just any given industry. So we'll see if they bounce back, or if they go through a whole rebuild, because that can happen too.
I mean, it absolutely could. But I will say that, again, very difficult to argue the two directions that both of these companies are going. And again, I'm literally taking Nintendo out of the conversation for the reason of they're going to do their own thing. They're going to be successful. People are going to buy Donkey Kong. People are going to buy Mario Kart. They're expected to sell millions upon millions of Switch 2s. I'm good for 3 of them. Right. So they got my money, and it's not a problem. I love the Switch. I just bought, I think, 8 new shoot 'em ups. I love Japanese shooters, and I imported a bunch of them, and I've been playing something I got from Limited Run that is basically a shooter that is like Vampire Survivors. It's called, what is it called? Raiden Nova. So it's Raiden that's top down. Enemies are coming from all sides, like it does, and you keep leveling up the same way you do in Vampire Survivor. It's absolutely brilliant, and that's what I've been up to. So I love the Switch, but again, very different. You guys made mention of some of the choices that Sony has made. And it really does compound what's going on with Xbox having as many as 5 of 7 games in the top 7 as Xbox first-party games. And those decisions that we're talking about, one versus the other, like depending on where you fall in the middle of the line, you might say the decision to go third-party was a mistake. I feel slighted as an Xbox fan. I'm not going to fight you on it. If you feel slighted, that's how you feel. Walk away from the brand. What can I tell you? I mean, it is what it is. But this is the decision that Microsoft made. Now, if you want to pull the curtain back here, guys, and you want to get into why, what I'm about to tell you compounds the fact that there's only one PlayStation game in their top 10, top 15. Yeah, MLB The Show was there. Obviously, it's a first party game, and people like baseball, and a lot of people buy it on PlayStation. But it's hard to argue that of the top 7 games, 5 are Xbox, and why that is compounded is some of the decisions they've made. Now, Bungie's a mess. Marathon is a mess. They've been accused once again. This is now the 3rd time with Marathon of stealing artwork. That's not good, ladies and gentlemen. That continues to that story keeps happening and happening. You're hearing about dysfunction at leadership. You're hearing about toxic behavior that went on during the development. You've heard of people like recently, I think, was it yesterday? Paul Tassi wrote an article that basically said this game is finished. Like it's a done deal. Now you got to remember, this is coming off a $400 million bath for Concord, right? You also have to take into account that Jade Raymond last Friday was either removed or she walked away from her studio. We have no idea what's happening with Fair Games. And if that does not sound like, oh, well, that's not really too bad. It's only 3 games. And okay, well, here's another salt in the wound conversation. So their one successful gas game was Helldivers 2. There's no arguing it. People are playing it like crazy. It did really, really well on PC, and it continues to have a massive amount of people that play it on a daily basis on Steam. That's here nor there. But Arrowhead, who made the game, has already confirmed that they are making their next title, and it's not Helldivers 3. It is their own game that they are 100% funding. And the back end of that conversation from the head of the studio says, when you 100% you pay for your own game, we 100% make the decisions. And of course he followed up with, well, we're still good friends with PlayStation, but are they? So again, just look at the entire picture here. No one is piling on PlayStation. This isn't a console war. These are legitimate facts that are happening at PlayStation right now, and it just doesn't look good. Xbox is on an upswing in a big way, and they have a showcase in less than 3 weeks. Very hard to argue that PlayStation is the market leader and that they're the continued just going to use political capital and stay in that position. And of course, the other side of the coin is Xbox is dead. So again, I don't care what you say. You're not going to win the argument of who is winning and stealing the zeitgeist of the gaming community. Right now, it's Xbox. Sorry. But gentlemen, we have to get into topic number 2. But before we get there, I got to thank a couple of super chats that popped in here. We have Do UK Now, the Broke Boy Insider. This is amazing. He drops a $2 super chat. So, of course, Will, thank you so much for the generosity. He says he is playing Pitfall on the Retro Game Classics gamepad. How freaking cool is that? That's really something else. Munch in the chat asks, he drops a very generous $2 super chat and asks, did Blade get canceled or is it still coming? I did a story last week that new information was dropped on it. You can go check it out on the channel. No, it's not canceled. They are working on it, and it's going to be a big game for them. It's going to be third person, and some of the stuff that we learned with some of the new information is very exciting. I cannot wait to see what they do with the Blade character, and I'm thinking that could be a launch title for the new series, for the new Xbox in 27. I don't think it's next year. I think they already have too many games. I think that's 27, but we'll see. Boris Red 77. Well, he drops a very generous $5 super chat, and he asks a pretty interesting question. He said, would you rather Game Pass and games go everywhere or no Game Pass and first-party games stay exclusive? It's a give and take business. I prefer this path. Look, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm right there with you. If you're saying, hey, boom, this is what we're going to do. You are running Microsoft, and you're going to make this choice. Take away Game Pass and go back to standardized exclusives on the box, or keep Game Pass and games go everywhere. I hope everyone enjoys their games because I don't give a shit. I know that where I'm playing it is on Game Pass, and when they have upgrades for $30, I pay the $30 and I get the upgrade, and I get the $100 edition for my $30 that I spent plus my subscription, and it's well worth it. I'd rather the Game Pass route. Dan Lazaro. Dan, nice to see you here, brother, and thank you so much for the very generous $5 super chat. And he says this, there is no hope for PlayStation. It's over, Johnny. Weekend at Bernie's style, just carrying around a lifeless PlayStation at this point. I mean, my PlayStation doesn't get turned on, and it hasn't in a while. The last
trade it in. There's no point. Trade it in.
I mean, again, if I had like a monster rig, I wouldn't have a PlayStation 5. I wouldn't, because I would just wait for the games to come onto Steam and get them at a cheaper deal. But I don't have I am a console guy. If there's a PlayStation 6, I'm gonna buy one. If there's a Switch 3, I'm gonna buy one. I like consoles, man. It's just simplistic playing for me. But listen, gentlemen, we got to get into this conversation of next generation hardware. Now, look, we already know that there is more and more evidence that the next Xbox is potentially going to be what we've been hearing about. And that is this magical and mythical, squared box that looks like an Xbox, sounds like an Xbox, has an Xbox controller, but has PC level capabilities, meaning you'll be able to play Steam, you'll be able to play your Epic Game Store, maybe even good old games. Maybe you'll be able to play all of the stores on this thing. But a story came out where there are some people in Xbox that are currently playtesting the Steam Xbox integration. Now, what does that look like? I have no idea. That's not actually the story that we're getting into tonight. Getting into what is expected to be the Dockable Handheld. And I when you put these two things together, I guess maybe on Front Street, maybe they don't make that much of sense to you. Maybe it does. So you're going to have this beast of a machine that's going to come out, and it's going to probably be very expensive. I would imagine nothing short of $700, in my opinion. It might even be $800 for all I know. But that is going to be what next generation is. And if the rumors on top of this being a open sourced box are anything to believe, of course, you got to then talk about the rumor that other makers are going to make Xbox consoles, meaning like Lenovo or like Dell, or, pick your favorite brand. And maybe that does happen. Maybe it doesn't happen. But Hargeet, this dockable handheld is really I think, for me, just reading the room is the most interesting of the conversation. Now, again, this story comes the way of Jez Corden of Windows Central. This story has already been added to the show notes. So if you want to read it for yourself, you simply got to click it and you go. And, there's a lot to get into here, but I kind of want to just focus on a very specific part, Hargeet, of the story. Now, Jez Corden goes on to say, from my previous reporting, Xbox next-gen hardware is targeting around 2027. And though in parentheses, he says it's unclear if that's for the full launch or simply a reveal at this time, but I expect it to be the launch window. He goes on to say, from what I understand, there will be a true Xbox handheld made by Microsoft, complete with a docking station emulating the Nintendo Switch. Additionally, I'm expecting an Xbox Series X successor for those who want a more traditional console experience, potentially complete with the ability to sideload PC storefronts like Steam and Epic Games. And as interesting and exciting is of what the next big Xbox console is going to be, I think the most interesting aspect of this story is the handheld. And here's why. So we all know that, or we believe anyway, that the next generation of consoles, including the PlayStation 6, is going to be super expensive. What this sounds like to me, Hargeet, I want to get your thoughts on this. This seems like a Series X, Series S situation for next gen, right? You're going to have your traditional big box underneath the TV, your Series X for next gen. This handheld, which we thought was simply going to be a handheld, Well, it appears that has changed, and it's going to be a dockable handheld, which means that you will be able to dock this handheld and your TV will turn on and you'll be able to play on the big screen. This, even though it's not going to be cheap, is going to be the cheaper option into Xbox gaming. And there might be a audience for an Xbox that goes with you anywhere, and then you can simply just come home and drop it in there and go, maybe this thing is $500, maybe this thing is $600, I don't know, but I think that this two-pronged approach and everything Xbox has going on with Xbox Anywhere, Xbox Everywhere, this is a PC, that's a PC, oh, it's an Xbox. I think that they are the most interesting aspect of what next gen is, well before we know anything about the PS6, their handheld, and potentially a Switch 3 in 5 or 7 years. Let's get your thoughts and your theories on this dockable handheld.
Yeah, so the assumption with the handheld is that it's going to be like a classic Xbox, and I don't know that it will or won't. We will see. There are potential rumors floating around. It might be ARM, and if it is, that could sort of change the potential of it being just an Xbox. It might be something that's a different target. It could be more like the Steam Deck, where it's a little different, but it plays the games in an emulation mode for whatever stores you want to put on there, right? And so we're not sure what this thing is going to look like. I'd also hesitate to say that it's going to be cheaper. I think it's still going to be relatively expensive in comparison to what we have today. Just kind of putting it at the level of, say, the ROG, those things are not cheap, right? So they have a cheaper model, but I don't think they're going to use that cheaper model. I think they're going to go with the normal model, and that's 7, 8 in that range. So, and look, any PC can be docked. It doesn't matter, right? You can use whatever you want. Any USB-C dock will work, right? So you can do that with the ROG Ally today. You can dock it. If they're going to include a dock, that's more money. So you just have to keep that all in mind, right? So I think it might be better if they don't do what the Switch does and keep it included, and rather just say, hey, if you want that feature, go buy it extra. There's an accessory for you. That might be a better way to keep the cost down. I don't know what the target for this will be. Like, there's, hey, when you make a game, it must be compatible with Series S and X because that is the current generation, right? I don't know what that's going to look like here, right? Because when you say that you can get games on Epic, you can get games on Steam, you've changed the entire paradigm. It no longer matters. You can get any game and it'll just, run, right? It's just an emulation mode that runs. If it's x86 native Windows, great. It just runs it native, no problem. If it's running some sort of emulated thing on top of ARM, which again, we're hearing rumors that might be the case, right?
Right.
Then you have some other potentials here. This could be running a stripped down Windows. It could be running a stripped down Android. It could be running a stripped down Linux. It could be, I don't know what they're going to do. There's all sorts of options, right? It changes the whole paradigm, right? And the reason, by the way, you would look at one of those other ones is Android is so well suited to running on a battery. It's already designed to do it, right?
Correct.
And so it's so well done.
Right.
You don't have to do that yourself, right? This is already sunk cost that somebody else took for you, right? And Google will continue to do it, right? So that's a good reason to look at that. And you say, well, hey, they have laptops, but laptops don't perform anywhere near as well as one of these things does. And if you want to get good power and long battery life, these guys have figured this stuff out, right? That's the thing. So you can just say, I don't want to pay for that, and let somebody else do that research for me. And Android's done it, right? So that's one of the reasons you take one of these and say, take it, right? And, if you're a smart company that just wants to make money, you take whatever's available. Android's free. It's freely available, right? So you can just go ahead and take it and use it. So there's a good potential for that, right? Linux tends to do better. It tends to be less resource hungry as well. Look, they can make Windows work, right? So that's another potential. I don't want to take that away. That's obviously still a potential for them, right?
Right.
But it, if they're really pushing the ARM thing, don't be surprised it isn't something weird, right? And totally different. And what they're trying to do is say, well, encompass that in a sellable package and sell it to people and say, you can have an Xbox 2, whichever XYZ partner. And that will just look like this, right? But our device will be this. And, people want to buy our device. Here it is. It'll have all the hardware for authentication and all that needs to happen for all the peripherals. If you want to use it that way, fair enough. All that stuff will be there. They'll have a whole canned solution of accessories and all that stuff. Awesome. But I don't know that it's going to be like you are forced to make this game run on this to release it on the normal console. I don't know that that's going to be the case, because I think they're going to basically say, we're treating this more like a PC. It'll just play anything that comes to PC. We don't care. And remember, their games, you buy on their store, it's available both, right? They give you cross entitlement. So from their perspective, it's their store and you get the game everywhere anyway. So they're trying to push that as their standard. But hey, if you want to get it on discount on like Steam or Epic, go at it.
Go ahead.
Like, they're happy, right? So I think that's the world that I would see, and I think they're under the TV console might be a single SKU that you can target for performance. Again, it's going to have the same capabilities. I assume that one's going to be AMD, I think, right? But again, nothing's confirmed. But I think that's going to be AMD, and that one will be, just running x86 standard. It'll be native, and it'll just happen to have those other stores, right? So, but it will also have the Xbox store. So I think that's kind of my my headspace of where this is at. I would hesitate to say it's going to be cheaper. I think they're going to be pretty close in price. One gives you an option for portability. One gives you an option for maybe a bit more frames, more higher end graphics capability. Just keep that in mind, right? So it's up to you to choose the platform that makes more sense to you, right? They just give you choice. That's it. It's the way it always is with them. They just give you choice, and whatever choice matters to you, you can go with that one, right? So I think that's kind of that. At least is where I would see it going. But we are yet to see, right? This is years away. We are yet to see what will happen and how they will put it out there. But if it's up to me, that's what I would see as the next logical thing, to say the portable is disjointed from the console, because that bit them. They don't want to have to lock the releases to say you have to certify it on this and certify it on that. If they just say, hey, we just run games that run on PC, it makes that part so much easier, because then performance targets are kind of like, after the fact, hey, the Steam Deck is this. Or a lot of people certify their game for Steam Deck, right? Yeah. So then they can just do like the Steam Deck settings and make it work, right? If Xbox has a large number of these out there, that will probably happen as well, right? And so then there'll be a performance target for Xbox Portable, and like it'll just be the PC version, but there'll be performance targets you can just use. Maybe it defaults to it, recognizes, oh, hey, this is the Xbox Portable, cool, I'll just use these defaults, right? And away you go, right? So you don't have to go muck with it yourself, because that usually is another thing that console players don't generally like, even though they now have like do I want the 40 frames, or do I want the 60 frames, or do I want the 120 frames, or whatever. All that stuff is now available now on the consoles too, right? But generally people don't like to muck with all. There's a lot more on the PC side to be able to toggle things on and off, right? So I think that's one of the things that maybe if they can do that, that'd be great. People could just have performance targets. It's compatible with the portable. But that's really where I see it. I don't like, and again, we're years away. This is all rumor and speculation. We don't know, right? But if I were to do it, I would think of it that way. I still think you're looking at 7-ish at least for the portable. At least that would be my guess.
Wow. I mean, listen, next generation is going to be expensive. I think we all realize that they're no longer taking losses. I know Asante has been like dead set on that for sure. Okay, let's talk this portable. Again, this story comes the way of Jez Corden of Windows Central, where he has it on firm belief that this next console is going to be a dedicated Xbox or a Microsoft machine, but it's also going to be dockable. And again, Hargeet thinks that it's going to be comparable in price to the one underneath the TV, and what's separating the two consoles will be the portability aspect of it through the dock. And of course, you'll be able to take it and go and do your thing, versus this box is here. It's an open platform like the handheld, except it's got all the bells and whistles you could possibly imagine. I would imagine that there's going to be a cheaper option of the and of the two. I believe it's going to be the handheld version of it. Again, that's just me, taking a stab in the dark. I want to get your thoughts on this though, because I think this is very interesting because it does play very close to what they're doing right now with the Series X and the Series S. There is a cheaper version for gamers who don't want.
You are onto something, Boom.
So please elaborate.
Yes.
Yeah.
They are mimicking, or it seems, because it's all rumor and speculation on background.
Of course.
With a huge grain of salt, absolutely. And I too have heard the handheld, the ARM rumors. We'll touch on that in a minute. They are definitely, Boom, playing with what you're describing. So, like, for me, I don't know, man. I think the hardware will be interesting. I think it'll be interesting. The Fox, whoever, if you guys know who the Fox is, great YouTuber who's
I've heard of him.
Yes, I had him on my show some time ago. He's been spitting this for, I mean, since the Series S first showed up. He's like, oh, Microsoft's making a handheld. Why? Because the Series S, as small and as not capable as it is, has been artificially limited by Microsoft as far as power and wattage is concerned. And he's always wondered, why would you limit something that's plugged into a wall unless you're training your consumer base, that being your developer base, to get used to developing in this way? And as soon as the hardware that's available is able to, because one thing you should know, SoCs, system on chips, gain optimization benefits with every revision. So the same thing gets easier to do on that thing at the next revision and the next revision. So before long, something that used to run at like 15 watts now runs at like 10 watts, and it runs lower and lower as they get revisions more and more. So the idea being that where they lock the Series S, all you need is a 1 or 2 revisions, and now you're square in handheld territory. So he was super convinced that that's where they were going. Obviously, he had no prior knowledge to it, but I think he was right. Now, to the point of the ARM, I heard the same thing, and at first I was like, ARM, really? I wasn't really about that life, because yes, I love Android. I'm an Android user, but I had never really used Android to that fullest extent. And then I bought an Odin 2 portal. This is an Odin 2 portal. And because of this device,
wow, it looks gorgeous, dude.
ARM is the most awesome solution they could come up with.
Awesome.
This little thing plays BioShock Remastered, like the remake. I load like PC binaries in an emulator on here, and it's powerful enough to play these games at 1080p 60 locked. Now, not all games play perfectly here, but that's because it's code and it's, people doing it as their weekend projects. This is not being done by a multi-trillion-dollar company trying to make new hardware happen, right? So this has really convinced me that there's a lot of overhead here, right? Is it as powerful as your x86 device? Probably not. But to Hargeet's point, because of the way Android handles workloads, it's able to do so much more with a lot less. So since using this, I'm like, wow, this is going to be something else. I'm looking forward to seeing what Microsoft does with it. I can imagine, and to your point, Hargeet, they're not going to upend the development platform. They're not going to say, oh, now you're going to develop a different way. No, they're just going to either, I can see it go either way. Either, and I think it's more of a transition than anything else, like eventual step ladder. They will emulate, they will decouple the virtualization with that console. And that's what will make it work on something like this, right? As long as you have the bandwidth, you can run it and it'll emulate x86 within it. No issue, right? Even developers can continue to develop like they always have. You're making an Xbox game, continue to make an Xbox game. Continue to pretend it's a Series S, because it will be inside here or whatever hardware that it's running on, right? The idea is just that whatever the host is, which is this device, has to have more power than the guest it's faking, right? And right now, in the chips that we pay attention to, like the Z1s and the Z2s and all this, they are right there, man. They are right there, right? And to what Hargeet was talking about with the rumors and what Jez Corden was talking about with docking stations and the like. These days, you don't technically even need to have a docking station that does anything except have a HDMI cable and a power cord.
Yep.
Nothing else. Why? Because there's something called the Strix Halo. Look it up. It's kind of wild. It is a monster system on a chip that we are waiting like with bated breath for the day that this thing shows up. But the reason why it's going to be difficult is because it takes so much power to run it that it takes like almost 30, 40 watts for it to get out of bed, right? But there's a way of having its resources until it's plugged into a wall, and then you unload the resources. What does that sound like? Sounds like an awesome handheld until you dock the thing, it recognizes it's in power, and now you're doing almost 4K 60. It's a monster of a device, and it's in retail, right? So if that's available, let's see what Microsoft can do. I think it's an interesting time. Like, I do agree that the standard paradigm of console is maybe behind us, but for those who are about the console, you're not about that hardware life, you don't want to be with Uncle PC or whatever, I think we should wait and see. I suspect that they will have something that will make you happy, right? It won't be what you're used to, probably. It probably may look a little different, or they'll try very hard to make it look exactly the same, but it may be some things, you know. But ultimately, I think it'll work out, right? Because now you'll be able to take your existing library with you on the go, and you'll have access to PC, and you'll have access to hopefully more of your library. It is the amalgamation of that what we want. It is, right? Of course, I always say this, and y'all have heard me say this multiple times, so I'll say it again. The devil is and continues to be in the implementation details. Yeah. We shall see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, if you want an ARM-based system that's popular, the Nintendo Switch is an ARM-based system that's
exactly
popular. And the Switch 2 is also an ARM-based system that's popular, right? So, so it's very viable. It is very viable. And you know, Windows runs today. I have a Surface Pro that's a ARM-based Surface Pro.
I won't say it because if I did, certain ninjas would come after us. But I will say that if I were to happen to try other ARM games on this thing, it would run it twice the speed for the same price as the other thing. So that's neither here nor there. Let's keep it moving.
Well, but that's the kind of stuff, right? And so like Microsoft can, again, it's choice. You can say, hey, I want a native AMD 64, I want a native ARM 64, right? And so you can do either one, and it'll run well on those devices. So again, if they just put that out there as an option for their partners, it gives them the option to make a device that has compatibility with almost everything, but also has the performance with battery life, right? That's the big key when it's portable. It's that battery life, right? So yeah, this is all good stuff. We'll just see how, as you're saying, Asante, it's all in the execution, right? It's great on paper,
of course, yes,
until they make it happen. We got to see it actually happen. And I don't disagree that I don't think it can't happen, right? Because now they're borrowing Windows. Once they go to Windows is already doing all this stuff for the billion plus whatever things that are out there, and corporations are running off of it. So there's expectations that thing runs solid. It's not always perfect, but it is pretty good.
One thing, Hardeep, everyone that's talking about Windows, hating on Windows, I know, I hear you. I actually just got a Legion Go. I'm testing it for stuff. So I'm dealing with Windows right now. A lot of Windows, and Windows is not great in this kind of context. But like, there's Tiny 11. If anyone has heard of that, it's an official like proper Windows, but stripped to the bare, to the point where it runs on less than a gig of storage space, and it's like proper Windows. Doesn't have any of the background crap running. It just raw Windows in the game. And many people have been doing exactly this. If and when Microsoft is serious about Windows, they no longer have to load on the printer spool drivers, this, that, and they can customize it to its exact use. So it will be.
They've already sort of done that, right? That's what the Series X and Series S are. They are a Windows, but a very stripped down version of Windows that doesn't even have all the capabilities of playing games, because they have that in a separate game engine. What they really need to do is kind of merge that together. Again, it's the same build kit, right? So this is stuff they can do. They have the tech. They have everything there. They just need to put it together. And hopefully they do get it together and do it right. And I'm going to guess that's kind of a Windows 12 thing, right? That's what it's, it'll be.
I would assume so as well. I don't think we see that anytime soon. For somebody like me, please just release that software so we can install it on our own stuff. That's all I care about.
Maybe that happens sooner than later, right? Like
I hope so. I hope
that could be happening sooner than later. And obviously, we're going to potentially get a taste of that. Maybe it happens sooner than later. The ROG Ally Xbox team up that's happening. Maybe that was held off to get this, this software to rule them all up and running. And maybe when that launches, they'll be able to say, hey, listen, okay, if you want this console, it's X amount of dollars, go buy it. It plays Xbox games, you go. But if you already own all of these other stuff, here, just download this. And here's your new UI. And everything works in tandem. And it's going to be great. Look, gentlemen, we have around, I want to say about 20 minutes, give or take, before we get on out of here. And I think that hearing the excitement come from the community who's talking about it right now, as well as Hargeet and Kayasante, I'd be remiss as a host not to talk about the Xbox Wire article talking about the retro classics. So Hargeet, I'm going to go right back to you, and I'm going to read again verbatim from the article. And let me just read the name of who wrote the article: Dean Shima Burko, who is the project marketing manager at the Xbox Service Marketing Department. And the lead title says, Xbox may update, retro classics come to Xbox, Game Pass, PC, gaming updates, and more. So this is, I think, the most exciting thing that might have happened this year for Xbox Game Pass. And you say, wait a second, Boom, there's so many games. What are you talking about? I kind of feel, Hargeet, and please, correct me if you feel I'm being a little facetious here. This kind of feels like such an important announcement that it almost feels as important as Phil coming out and saying backwards compatibility. Like, and maybe because I'm an OG, and I always say this, folks, the reason why I appreciate what we have today is where I started. Anyone that's a dinosaur like me understands that if you started on the ColecoVision or the Atari 2600 or even Pong, right? You remember that it was just simply sticks and dots. And what's super incredible is out of absolutely nowhere, they just drop this in the Game Pass and just do a presser. So let me read verbatim from the presser. And it says this: we're thrilled to announce the launch of Retro Classics, a collaboration between Xbox and Antstream Arcade, available to play for Game Pass members globally. Starting today, Game Pass members can dive into a collection of 50-plus classic Activision games from the 80s and 90s, including beloved titles like Commando, Grand Prix, Kaboom, MechWarrior 2, 31st Century Combat, and Pitfall. This initiative is a step in our commitment to game preservation and backwards compatibility, allowing players to experience many timeless games on modern devices. So I'm getting goosebumps over talking about this because this is amazing, Hargeet. So the list that they have at the retro classics are this: it has community challenges, which is awesome, PSX, 2600, NES, Activision, DOS, Sierra, Sport, and Amiga. And they have games in there like, who's racing to play checkers and bridge? Probably not a lot of people, but they have Dragster, Decathlon, Enduro, River Raid, Demon Attack, Atlantis 1 and 2. So here's the thing, folks. For me, my love of shooters came from Atlantis. And why that sticks out for me is because I remember my dad saying, hey, man, these games are expensive. If my dad was a blue collar guy, right? Just one salary coming in. I had to save up my birthday money and my allowance for this thing. And I remember going to Play World. And if you're from New York, you know exactly what I'm talking about, where they had this monster-sized board with the tickets you had to bring to the window after you paid to go pick up your game. And I again, this is a long time ago. And maybe it's me, a kid, thinking like a kid. I think I paid like $80 for this thing back in the days. And I was like, my God, all my money is gone. It's in there. Hargeet, again, maybe this doesn't mean move the needle for a lot of younger gamers. Like, oh, what are these dinosaurs talking about? Who wants to play Enduro or Firefighter or Fishing Derby or Freeway? Like, I mean, it's like Frogger with a chicken. Like, who cares? I care. And I think that this is the coolest thing to happen to retro gaming, because Antstream, I bought the lifetime package when that released. It's amazing. And this is in Game Pass. Let's get your thoughts on this, dude.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool offering as far as like just trying to bundle things up and bring them over. Granted, it's using Antstream, so it is cloud, it's not native, right? But there are a bunch of games, and like you just get them as part of a sort of a package deal in one shell. From mostly, I think it's all Activision stuff, right? So it's ABK stuff that came with the acquisition. So you get some older Activision games, some Sierra games, stuff like that. So pretty cool. I like went in and just started playing a couple of the older games. What the heck? Try it out. So it's nice that they've offered it up. I think it's and to your point, they just kind of announced it out of nowhere, right? But here's the thing: like you think it's the equivalent of backwards compatibility. I don't think it's at that level. It's just them bringing more games from the ABK catalog, make them available on Game Pass, right? That's kind of part of their normal commitment. This is just how they're getting some of these games that really are kind of PC centric in some cases. Some of them are definitely just console games, and they work fine. But hey, what the heck? They're bringing them over. It's pretty cool. I was I was pretty happy to see a lot of those old Sierra games in there. Hopefully they're going to bring more and more and more. But yeah, it's good stuff. So we'll see what the cadence is of bringing more content into it. But yeah, it probably has limitations of whatever's in Antstream, right? And I don't know if they're going to add more and more to that or not, right? But we will see. So very cool that they just dropped that in there out of nowhere. Just say it's another thing you get. Like, what the heck? There were some other updates for the May update that are some UI changes to the Windows game bar and some other things going on as well. So pretty significant update for this month from a console and a PC, and then just games that they keep dropping in into Game Pass. So craziness. Like Metaphor is just like jumping into Game Pass. Like, oh, okay.
ReFantazio, one of the biggest games of last it came out last year, if I'm not mistaken. So
exactly.
Wow.
And so the thoughts of the Sega partnership dying are way overblown.
Yes.
Big game from Atlas is coming in. So yeah, it's good stuff, right? But yeah, like that retro arcade thing is a pretty cool idea. Bringing all those games in. Would have preferred some of it native, but hey, whatever. It's something. So it's also a pretty small install because of that. It's all just cloud, right? It's just a shell to run it in the cloud. So pretty good stuff. I don't know how well that's working for everybody though, and I don't know if it's available to everybody or not. Is Antstream available everywhere?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. It is. Yeah,
it is available everywhere. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. So good. Yeah. So wherever that's available, hopefully you can try it out and see what it's like.
Yep.
I just think that it's one part of this massive picture that Xbox has going on. And I know that some of the conversation is their first party on other platforms. I totally get it. Some people are, again, super soured by that. I'm not going to fight you on it. But if you add that, and they're winning over there, people are buying their games on PlayStation. They have a showcase happening in under 3 weeks, expected to be even bigger than last year. They've already had, in the first 5 months, some incredible first-party games and some third-party additions to Game Pass. And then, que Asante, you add this nugget. Oh, by the way, here's 50 classic games from the Activision catalog. Now, again, it's not going to hit for everyone, but that's what makes Game Pass so special. Is it doesn't have to resonate. Everything doesn't have to resonate with you. Yep. Maybe one thing does. Maybe two things. Maybe like me, everything resonates with me because I'm a gamer. And I started way back in the days, and I'm enjoying gaming now. And this is just a just a time machine back to when it was sticks and dots. Let's get your thoughts, man.
So I think this is super interesting and super exciting, not only because of the games, right? Because the games are awesome. I love that we have games there, but I always wanted to know what they were going to do with it, right? Like it's always been a question for me what they were actually planning to do with the Activision stuff, because they made mention of it during the various interviews and all of this. I knew they wanted to do something with it, but we didn't know exactly what that something was. And this is the first idea that I've seen of them actually going into the case and digging stuff out that's really old, and not like with the mindset of, oh, we're going to renew this. It's just, hey, something interesting that would be for the consumer base who likes it, right? This is geared directly towards Boom, like directly towards Boom, right? It's not separated out to be sold elsewhere. It's not even on other platforms. It's literally just for your Game Pass guys. Enjoy yourself. I'm surprised it hasn't come elsewhere, and I suspect it will at some point, because it should, right? What I think is super unique is I loved Antstream. I thought it was such an interesting and unique idea. Hargi, I disagree with you that it is online only, and that's a little bit of a minus. I actually think Antstream's solution is the solution. They're tiny games. They don't even fit on a floppy disk. They're so small. They're like KBs. The whole game fits in memory. This is the perfect use for cloud. No one will ever have latency because it's teeny tiny, the whole thing, right? It's not like we're streaming a little bit to you. Then a little bit more. No, the whole thing is in memory.
So are they just loading it into memory and it's running native?
They're loading it into memory and it's running. And in certain instances, they are streaming it to you, but in small pieces. So like, and I'm thinking in the Antstream.
So it's really just like it's running a disk remotely.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And under normal circumstances, if you were running this huge big game that just, I get it, right? Then it's all susceptible. You're not playing Call of Duty via stream. This whole thing is like 4KB, son. Like, what's the problem? Like, you could run the whole thing, I love it. And this is like the best part about it is they are growing the list. So today it could be 200, next week it could be hundreds and hundreds more, right? But they're all very, very tiny. This was before Mario Brothers, ladies and gentlemen. This is like tiny games. Even Mario Brothers is like a couple megs. Like that's it, right? So in the cloud, this is a perfect solution. Anyone can just get access to it. You give it a minute, it loads up, and you're playing the whole thing like it's native. It's great. It's an awesome solution. The only thing that I wonder is, where does this go, right? Because this establishes the ground, and I'm happy about it, and it's cool. When people start playing it and people start digging it, does this spur them on to go, hey, now this justifies us making another Pitfall? Like, I wonder what this will do. You know what
I mean? It's funny you say that.
Didn't they do that? I'm pretty sure there was a Pitfall.
There were other Pitfalls that came out later. In fact, I even think there was one or two of them on PlayStation 1, and they weren't that.
Yeah, I remember
good.
the PlayStation had a Pitfall, and it wasn't great. Yeah. Let's see. But the reason I ask it is, we are all in the world now where we're like, they're very money focused. They're all about the dollars and cents. This is a very interesting PR play, because it doesn't seemingly have any dollars and cents tied to them directly. So my question is, where do the dollars and cents sit? Is this hey, let's see which ones the people gravitate towards, so we use that as a incubator for remakes, right? Or what is the play here to make this useful? Because let's be clear, wonderful people at Microsoft and PlayStation and all these, but their job is to make money.
Right.
So even if this is not directly tying to money, there has to be some money potential somewhere. So I want to know what that is. And that's cool to me. I think that's awesome, right? If we play Pitfall more, maybe we have access to a potential Pitfall remake or something like that. That'd be awesome. I really like what Microsoft is doing in general with the Activision like preservation aspect. I love this is happening. And then of course there's Tony Hawk happening soon. So it's awesome. I think it's great. Yeah.
I think there is a world where remakes do have a place, and I do like what Xbox is doing, because they're remaking games that have missed an entire decade or more. Oblivion is a perfect example of that. Tony Hawk 3 and 4 are a perfect example of that. You see what they're doing with the rumored Fallout 3 remastered remake, right? So they're doing it the right way. They're not trying to nickel and dime you and get money from you or take money from blood from a stone. And if it's done right, and obviously Oblivion, remastered was done right, it's your number one selling game and your third best selling game of 2025. That's just crazy. And that could happen. Fallout's another one. Fallout 3 is a modern day classic that has not seen, a remake or remaster before it. And if that comes out in the same vein as Oblivion, it's going to be number one everywhere they put it. And I just think that this, again, retro classics drop out of nowhere was such a really cool ass thing to do. And again, it's not for everyone. Someone's going to see these graphics and be laughing themselves to sleep. And I hear you, but there's River Raid in there. I think Sin actually in the chat said that. Like, he's excited. Why wouldn't you be? It's freaking River Raid. I remember playing that. It was kind of like a 2D-esque 3D type of shooter that was hard as hell, but fun. Man, I'm just very excited that this happened. Again, great way to close out the show. 3 topics, and some of the conversation we had was pointed, but there were numbers that were added to the conversation, which you can't argue. Opinions, sure. Like we always say, opinions like a-holes. Everyone has one, and they all stink, right? So there you go. But
Pitfall did come out on Xbox, PS2, and was it GameCube at the time? I think that whatever that generation.
Yeah.
So there was a Pitfall that came out in that time. So they could redo that one, or they could come up with a new story if they wanted to. But look, they have plenty of games already.
For them to go back and just take Pitfall Harry and start from scratch. Give us a modern day Tomb Raider looking esque type of game.
There's the initiative, right? And the initiative's job is what?
Yes.
Is to create the storyline and then say, "Hey, Team XYZ, go make this."
Go make this. Yeah, again, it's fun to speculate, and it's fun that there's something actually called Retro Arcade, and it's on Xbox Game Pass right now. But that's gonna do it for us, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just get these 2 super chats, and we'll get everyone out of here. And they're from Do UK Now, the Broke Boy Insider. He doesn't drop 1; he drops 2 additional $2 super chats. The first one, he says, "Give me a present day Pitfall, the OG." Screw Uncharted. I mean, listen, we all look to Nathan Drake. We look to Tomb Raider. Obviously,
Indiana Jones.
but the OG is Pitfall Harry, and that's where it all started. And again, the game is hard. You're gonna die a lot, especially on those goddamn alligators, man. It's just when you try jumping, it's not good. And he says this, damn it, Asante, he stole his point about it. Well, listen, he's used to it. Apologies once again, Will. But listen, let's get everyone out of here. Hargy China, let's sell the brand, brother. Obviously, last year you wrote a book. It released. It is called. Why am I blanking on the name? It's right behind you.
Next to it.
Emergence.
Yeah, Emergence. Jesus Christmas. All I got to think is Gears of War. If you are a fan of games like Mass Effect, I think you're going to dig the book. And if you like reading, then you should give it the old college effort. But that's not the only thing that he does. He does have his own YouTube channel. A couple of weeks ago, he finally got to 1K, which is awesome. And obviously, he is going to be boots on the ground along with me, Kay Asante, and many people in the community in a couple of weeks in Los Angeles to cover everything that is happening at the Xbox Game Showcase. And if you want to be informed and you want the videos of us exploding when they show game whatever, you gotta subscribe to Hargeet Chinese channel. Brother, sell the brand. Where could people subscribe to your YouTube channel, not find you on social media? That's awesome. And more importantly, buy your book. Sell the brand, brother.
Yeah, so my channel is Hargeet Chani 1 on YouTube. Subscribe away. And then my book, if you want to pick it up, shop.chani.us. And yeah, the showcase stuff is coming, man. It's gonna be fun stuff. I'll be on with C Money and Doodle on Friday, 8 p.m. ish, somewhere between 8 and 9. And then with Fonz on Saturday at 7 p.m. US Eastern, and then Web Dave on Sunday at 7 p.m. U.S. Eastern as well. And we'll see what fun comes next week when we're back here next Wednesday. I'm sure there'll be more fun things to talk about.
Yeah, you know what? As we get closer,
has more Doom or not.
I don't know if they can take any more Doom. Again, they've stepped in it, and it's not good. But we'll see. I mean, obviously, they're still an important part of the industry. They're not going anywhere. They've just made some pretty bad decisions, and they've lost a lot of money. They really have, and I don't know how much more they could lose. I mean, again, I'm going to be doing a video where we talk about specifically what happens to Bungie if Marathon actually fails. Like, if that fails, I think Bungie is done. And ultimately, you know why that's going to be worse? Not just for Bungie and their staff. That's the worst part of it. But what makes the conversation worse is that PlayStation spent $3.6 billion on that company. And if they don't have anything that the company is doing and making money for them, that might be it could potentially be worse than the Concord bath that they took, and that was $400 million. But we Ryan is laughing. Oh my God. Okay, Asante, let's sell the brand, brother. Let's talk about the Gaming Circle podcast. Saturday mornings, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You and Everborn Saga and occasionally guests or three get together, talk about the biggest and baddest of what's happening in the gaming, the gaming circle. And well, let's sell the brand. Where can people subscribe to your YouTube channel, but more importantly, follow you on social media?
Yeah, Boom. Once again, thanks to everybody who's here as usual. On a Wednesday, this ends up being the best part of my week. I enjoy, with in between work and all the other things. You guys, we come here, we talk games, and it's great. You can catch me, K Asante, TKO Asante, and all the places. We communicate with each other. I will be on GCP, the Gaming Circle podcast, this Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, on the old YouTube channels. You follow me, you'll know when it comes live. And yeah, we have a lot of stuff to talk about. And as Hargeet has talked about, June is shortly approaching. Yes. Keep an eye out, because that community showcase is going to be somewhat of a barn burner right here. Some interesting things afoot. So yeah, man, catch us on GCP on the weekend, and June should be interesting.
Yeah, very much looking forward to it. Lastly, K Now the Broke Boy Insider drops an additional $2 super chat, and he says, "Damn it to you, Boom," as well, because his ideas always get stolen. We got to get you back on, Will, for sure. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for hanging out with us on a Wednesday evening. I hope you enjoyed the 90+ minutes that we got a chance to talk about some of the biggest news in gaming, and of course the bonus topic on the back end, talking about the big May update for the retro classics of all of the Activision titles. Of course, a big thank you to all of the super chats that popped in. And there's another one from Will. He drops his don't know if you saw, Boom, Black Ops 6 has a new code pack. Yeah, I'm gonna buy it. Absolutely. It's I believe it's
speaking of code, I another story that was the rewards program for PlayStation.
PlayStation is being closed down. Yeah, it's
wow.
another.
I didn't know
disaster.
That. Wow.
Yeah, they announced that it's ending next year, which is. Again, folks, this is not us piling. This is just the news that's happening for PlayStation, and folks, they are bleeding left, right, and center. It's not good. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna jump on that, Will, for sure. I believe it's the I Gotcha 6 pack. I'm definitely gonna pick that up. I think it's like $20 or whatever it is. But that's gonna do it for us once again, ladies and gentlemen. A big thank you to all of the super chats that have come in that help us on the back end and the front end of the channel, with channel memberships, with gifted channel memberships, and of course the super chats. And of course, Mrs. Boom and I do a lot of things with the community with these super chats, as well as keep the channel running, and we do appreciate that. And of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that's incredibly important to me, folks. Hopefully one day will be important to you, and that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, "Craig, treat others how you want to be treated, and also it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day." So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. BoomStick and Friends.